esteemed veterans, mentors, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I think this is the first time when I am giving a talk in USI, though I have been frequenting this place from year 2000. But this is the first time when I am giving the talk. And the subject which has been chosen is basically about the transformation, so it talks about future. And I was assured when you talk about future, actually you can speak anything. But out here the problem is that all my mentors are here, starting from my IMA instructor in predecessors, 26 sector, IGR East and so on and so forth. So it means I'll have to remain serious and try and give out some facts. So I'll stick to the script the way it is supposed to be. So Jai Hind to everyone. It's indeed a privilege to speak here at USI and more so to deliver the annual memorial lecture in honor of Col Pyara Lal, who has been one of the iconic pillars of this institution post-independence. So now a background to the topic which I have chosen. Firstly, the change remains a universal constant, परिवर्तन ही संसार का नियम है, that we all know. Therefore, the commonality of purpose was well identified. We have all read Arming Without Aiming by Stephen Cohen, and also how we have seized with observations that we always prepare for the last war. My predecessor, a far-sighted man, declared 2023 as the year of transformation, a very good initiative which needed to be pursued vigorously. As such initiatives do require a gestation period, as it involves many stakeholders along with Army to play a pivotal role. So within a week of my taking over, I made two announcements. Firstly, pursuing a decade of transformation for giving time to planners to plan and execute transformation as relevant to future warfare. And secondly, extend year of technology absorption, that is 2024 to year 2025-2, so that one can enforce vision and decisions taken from the time I took over till July 24, and thereafter have the complete year 2025 to implement those decisions. Otherwise, planning remains on the table itself. Even the front level multi-domain discussion held this month itself, which Jan Bhatt also attended, in a standalone mode, was a step towards that, wherein national key subject matter experts also were involved. Now coming on to the alignment with the Amrit Kal Vision 2047, which was also covered by Jan Sharma, the national leadership has defined the vision for Amrit Kal as to make India a significant participant in defining world order and amongst the top countries where people want to live. A very simplistic one. Now if that be the strategic guidance for Viksit Bharat 2047, then as one of the constituent elements of national power, the Indian Army recognizes that to be a significant participant in defining the world order, our responsibilities, opportunities, expectations could span across expanded strategic horizons. While economic power remains the fountainhead of growth of a nation, yet it is the military strength that lends it the ability to effect the outcomes necessary to protect and further its interests. Now it becomes more pertinent for India as we need to sustain our strategic autonomy and strategic hedging in the emerging world order, where majority are proponents of realism under the cloak of liberalism. Therefore, most of the time we may find votes in the UN General Assembly under umbrella of liberalism, but when it comes to realism, that is the hard part, we may find ourselves alone in the arena to contest or confront our potential adversaries. Therefore, in my talk today, I shall dwell upon our pursuit to transform towards being future ready, wherein for inflection points, change must come at the speed of relevance. What does it involve? As we go ahead, we'll get to know more about it. Now, therefore, to ensure that the nation's progress continues unabated, we need to be prepared to overtly overcome the threats to its security as they present today and their appreciated manifestations in the future. So, what's the Indian Army vision for that? It is to transform into a modern, agile, adaptive, technology-enabled and self-reliant future-ready force capable to deter and win wars in a multi-domain operational environment across the full spectrum of operations to protect the national interests in synergy with the other stakeholders. So before that, let's see only two-liner. What is the overview of the character of warfare as we see now? Now in the recent wars, what we have seen is that these wars are going to be long duration, with mass fire, mass application, innovative ideas from tactical to strategic level, and on-ground adaptation. Second issue, disruptive technology and offset strategy are a necessity to sustain dynamism in such warfare. Now specific to our context, some relevant pointers have to be firstly established. What are those? Primary front has been well defined. A two-front threat contingency remains alive, especially considering the degree of collusivity between our adversaries, especially non-kinetic domain, which I consider to be nearly 100%. Infra differential has to be well understood. The scope of grey zone is ever increasing with every passing day. Cyber incidents in 2023 as per CERT India were nearly 16 lakhs. Therefore, due to critical role of other stakeholders in emerging new domains, Indian Army must collaborate with all state players in a proactive manner. Relevance of non-state actors and citizen warriors need to be factored in. Significance of domination of cognitive domain is well established. Now, about the half front, that is CICT ops are here to stay, at least in the near future. So that is as the two and a half front is concerned. New structures and organizations need to be created from existing resources and strength. Need to strike a balance between the network-centric warfare and the data-centric warfare. Aging and the legacy structures of organizations wherein state players can provide an alternative option need to be synergized or merged. And finally, theaterization is the way forward. So with that as a backdrop, let's see the pillars and how are we going about it. And the easiest to understand is jointness and training. So I shall first dwell upon fostering and advancing jointness and training, integration, which many of you would have already heard a lot about in the media. So a unique threat spectrum requires interoperability in a multi-domain operation environment that necessitates an integrated response from the armed forces. Now towards that end, integrated theatre commands are taking shape in a pragmatic time frame. General Rawat, our first CDS, laid a great foundation. And then General Anil Chauhan took it forward. Today we have a great consensus among three chiefs and the CDS that we've been able to devise a complete structure and plan nearly everything. I think now it's in a mature stage to be presented to our decision makers for further journey ahead. The structures to arrive at will separate force generation and force application as unique to our conditions, our short-term threats and long-term challenges. We've also briefed all Tri-Service Commander-in-Chiefs where we discussed large number of issues to optimize jointness. So far in jointness 1.0, we addressed existing structures and processes. For example, integrated acquisition plan, courses of instruction where joint training has commenced, joint logistic nodes, etc. So today we have 3 joint logistic nodes which are fully operational and 4 more are in the pipeline. Common utilization of bases for operation administrative functions where feasible has been introduced. Common access to station amenities continues to expand to include schools, colleges and clubs. As you are aware that the Air Force and Navy can also now attend all the colleges which Indian Army has raised. Mumbai is coming up as a tri-service station. So then we went in for jointness 2.0, which talks about culture, thinking and symbology. There also we have made a great progress in doctrines, SOPs, joint MROs, that is repair organizations also planned, including tri-service common major platform equipment sustenance, for example HAPTIS and missiles. Now I am sure by declaring 3.0 we would further move ahead. Now in totality about 180 fields have been identified where the jointness is required, and we have nearly been able to achieve 30% of jointness by addressing those fields. Others we are working, and initially the pace was slow, but the way we are moving now we have, if I can say that, it's getting accelerated in a faster manner. So we intend to further augment our synergy through pursuits of COP, that is Common Operation Planning Procedure. It is being headed by or steered by Defence Services Staff College. So at that level we are addressing it, and now it will also be introduced in various war games which take place at command and above. Common digital maps and georeferencing. communication, technology development, exchange of technology, subject matter experts in various centers of excellence of the three services, aggregating RP and UAV assets, all three being combined together, being used together, harmonizing ISR resources, joint SOPs and integrated outsourcing. And for the first time in staff college, we are having a purple syndicate. Now, even as far as the acquisitions are concerned, we are progressing it jointly, wherein Indian Army is the lead for 20 schemes out of 24 joint schemes what we have. As far as the Indian Army specific is concerned, integration of CAPF is a major KRA, as dual command and control with respect to Northern Front is a fait accompli, and we have to accept it. So the thought process is to gradually enhance the interdependencies with the CAPF, as also synchronize capability development of CAPF for better interoperability and economy of scale. So that as far as the first pillar is concerned, rest all I take on in the question answer session. Now comes the next aspect of how we need to organize ourselves for war fighting, so that we are able to optimally exploit the capabilities of our war fighting systems congruent to the dictates of our defined operation philosophy. Post restructuring therefore is an ongoing process to keep pace with the requirements of contemporary and future battlefield. Rebalancing 1.0, as you are already aware, it's been implemented. So based on the lessons drawn, now we are looking at rebalancing 1.5, which involves review of structures, command and control, besides training orientation of our Indian Army schools of instructions, as well as the operation training which is taking place. Then rebalancing 2.0, which will be in the future, we'll look at implementation of these new structures which we have arrived or we are congruent about it, and enhanced role of Indian Army in time framework that stands mandated due to emerging interdependencies due to the new domains which are emerging now. So pursuits in this regard include a dedicated billet to look into the futures, which has been created under 2-star, and we have a rep of the future cell sitting amongst us. Integrated battle groups are on the anvil, and probably by 2025 the implementation should commence. Reorganized structures for specialist domains, entailing establishment of STEAM, that is Signals Technology Experimentation Adaptation Group. This is the group that led to innovation and launch of Sambar mobile phone, which has increased the secure connectivity in all areas. It is very, very effective, and besides the tri-services is also being given to the IB, NSA office, etc. Cyber operation and support subunits have been structured as part of command headquarters. CoAS, these are the new raisings which have been carried out. Electronic warfare units and brigades have also undergone modification with CIMA platoon added to it. CIMA is basically cyber electromagnetic applications. As far as the AEC is concerned, it has taken a new avatar called as Army Knowledge and Enabler Corps that entails linguists and cyber specialists. If you see the linguists, somehow we have always been at shortfall, and whenever we ask somebody who is trained to please take on this job, he used to say 5 years I have not done anything, now I can't do this job. So along the northern front we had a major problem, so we had to go in for a major push. Similarly, info ops groups and info ops decks are being implemented in a phased manner at Army headquarters, command and corps level for psychological defense. It's a new field. When I tell you the military population, what I am looking at, psychological defense becomes a very, very important asset. As far as the RT regiments are concerned, they are scaled up to a common caliber gun system, also referred in the newspapers as 155, while reorganizing the SATA regiments on the RR lines. TIization of legacy establishment will now gain impetus as TA recruitment has commenced. Now we also intend to unfold an era of integrated approach with integration at all levels to ensure timely application. Now to offset infra-symmetry what we have, asymmetry what we have, we are now looking at few new organizations. Like we have all seen various ISR organizations which are ad hoc in nature, starting from brigade, division, corps. So we are looking at ISR brigade which should provide a common backbone to all. Special forces brigades for training, operation application, as also thereafter equipping. All arms brigade. Because what we are seeing, and of course I'll come to it why I am saying so, drone teams with varying strength and potential is also being examined. Now here I would like to quote Jim Mattis, Call Sign CoAS. Strangers don't fight well together And it's a percept with me not to reorganize in combat. And if you see Indian Army calls it's a very flexible and starts reorganizing moment the first bullet is fired. Even in the pivot core, even in the strike core. That we need to have a relook. Coming on to the third pillar, that's a modernization technology infusion. What we need to fight future wars with, and that translates into a capability development both in terms of weapons, systems and equipment and also in logistics. As regards modernization technological infusion into our war-fighting systems, our efforts are progressing almost entirely on the edifice of Atmanirbharta, with 85% of equipment induction planned from Indian suppliers. It doesn't mean that there is an embargo to buy it from outside, but if we can get it from India, that will always be P1. We also need deliberation on battlefield equalizers vis-a-vis the thought process of platform versus platform. It is meant for all the three services, and this was also ideated in the recently held Army Commanders Conference at Cantt. Technology keeps on changing on a ratcheting scale. Thus, mass production will probably get overshadowed by better or improved technology. Technology will have a life of 2 to 3 years. Mass production will be for 10 years, 15 years. So now we need to strike a balance. Therefore, we need to invest in and leverage all factors that come into play in combat. Now, in fact, a fine balance between an Apple approach and Google approach stands mandated. What does it mean? As far as the Apple approach is concerned, you all have seen, exploit the equipment or technology available or provided. Steve Jobs, Apple phone. As also Google, that is procure equipment technology as per requirement. If you search anything in Google, you will find it will keep reinforcing your wish list. So that is how that you can have a utopian GSQR also, and you can also exploit the equipment which is there, and you require a healthy combination of both. Keeping in view a primary front focus, our aim in modernization would be to largely ensure operational employment of maximum equipment in super high altitude area. However, sectoral model or a front model is also needed through spiral development mode for compatibility in plains and deserts also. For the infantry, we are working towards smart soldier. I am using the word smart soldier, not the only boots on ground. With eagle on the arm, that is F and SAS in some way is being revived. And when you talk about eagle, means every soldier must have a drone to himself. Highly mobile protective vehicles, some have already been brought in. World's best small arms, that's why 6 or the second set of orders were gone in for. An ability to fight in night as day. Coming on to the battlefield situation awareness. It is being increased through border surveillance system and nano drones at the tactical end, as also through satellite-based system at the strategic end. The SBS 3 phase will launch 52 satellites, with 21 built by the Indian Space Research Organization and 31 built by private companies. Now, since it's an unclassified lecture, so I'll quote it as per Economic Times. Now, meanwhile, structural changes are also being discussed in OP discussions to remove ad hocism due to complexities of emerging technology. Now, drones are planned to be akin to night vision device or binocular. Toward that end, each command will have its own drone making and flying incubation centers, besides investing in R&D in conjunction with academia and industry. As for the target acquisition, precision fires are concerned, we are looking at mass fire, accurate fire, flexibility of range and type of munition. Longer range missiles also being of the hour. However, PSDA remains an unaddressed area, that is post-strike damage assessment, where tri-service approach would be required because we are looking at large depth. Survivability of ground forces will need both passive and active measures where the work is on. Loiter ammunition acquisition will transform the battlefield engagements in conjunction with manned, unmanned teams. The acquisition has already begun at the level of EP and Army Commander Special Financial Power. Now we will go for the captive procurement also. The effectiveness of communications being upgraded through software-defined radios and Sambhav. We are also deploying terrain-specific electronic warfare system, drones and anti-drone system. And since AP sir is here, I can assure that AD is also working well. As regards induction of new weapon platforms for mechanized and aviation forces concerned, light tank Zoravar is already making news. FRCV, F5CV are also on the drawing board. You would have heard the press release of DACs. including the wheeled AFVs. Aviation assets in form of LCA Prachand and Apache will enhance capability in conjunction with missiles and swarm drones and RPAs. In long run, Indian Army will also look for fixed wing small aircraft as the border area infrastructure improves. As far as logistics is concerned, these are being augmented by employing logistic drones and robotic mules. But when you look at the concept, the just-in-time concepts need a review. Now we need additional durable stocks duly dispersed, because we are looking at all the three services to merge their stocks, and the TBA has to be one. It cannot be distributed among the three services. As far as sustenance is concerned, it's a key subset of capability development. Now, ammunition, 134 out of 175 categories stand indigenized, and we intend to complete indigenization of entire requirement of ammunition by year 2030. Now, as regards the technology infusion is concerned, we have become part of all technology related national missions, ranging from 6G to latest this month, National Quantum Mission. Based on the feedback of two regional training notes what we have, we'll increase it to one per command for harnessing technology at the doorstep itself, in conjunction with academia and industry. Majority IITs and other R&D establishments have Indian Army cells, presently restricted to few IITs, PSUs and other government establishments. We are planning for all the IITs and all the PSUs as well as major government establishments. We are also looking at identifying, creating the guardian force, including outsourcing for exploitation of rapidly changing technology. What is guardian force? Most of you know, otherwise we'll take on during the tea time. To facilitate convergence, in the last 3 months we have now identified 16 technology clusters, and for each cluster a PSO and a line directorate has been made responsible to steer the technology infusion come R&D. We have an empowered technology committee under Vice Chief, which meets every 45 days to clear technology oriented projects, and this is the one which is going to steer the lines of effort for next 10 years for all these 16 technology clusters. High power computing AI cloud is being developed soon for all the three services with Indian Army as the lead. Indian Army AI Incubation Center has been opened last month at Bengaluru in conjunction with BEL. Now the focus is on shaping and enabling techno warriors and commanders. To enable uplifting and mass, the techno commanders from sole tactical commanders, few initiatives have been undertaken. The earlier initiatives are well known to you. After Chintan with the Army commanders, the technology content in promotion exam for each subject has been nearly doubled. Credit and audit courses undertaken by officers are planned to be logged in by the MS branch for better employability and the assessment which takes place. MTech vacancy have been increased from 65 to 95 per year for creating a culture of technology ownership. MOUs with academia are being leveraged for enhancing competency threshold with emphasis on IW competencies for the officers. Encourage super specialization at colonel level for pursuing passion vis-a-vis following the command model only. An example, we have Asmi carbine inventor Colonel Bhansot, who has been given colonel's appointment, but now he can continue without commanding a unit. And this is open to all. Even now the result which have been announced yesterday is being conveyed that anybody wants to apply for that is most welcome. As far as the NDA syllabus is also concerned, as you are aware, there are two streams. So we are looking at how these two streams can be further converted into qualification which is more oriented towards our requirement. As far as systems, process and functions are concerned, the fourth pillar, an organization culture becomes enemy of change if assumptions are not changed. Now to change organization culture, so it is the future self brigadier who has been able to control this. It's a future technology. So to change organization culture, you have to identify pressure points, prioritize, encourage thought leaders with shared values and beliefs, symbolic gestures with persistent assertive change management and dynamism through constant feedback. However, the burden of proof in an argument for change clearly rests with the advocate of reform. So this responsibility lies on my shoulder. The juxtaposition in it needs to be well understood. Chance, friction and adaptation is the forte of a military leader, which entails a fair degree of risk-taking ability. However, military bureaucracy looks at precedents, repeat of last year, minimum turbulence and status quo. As bureaucracy by definition is not designed to change. Thus the clash of wartime aspirations and peacetime solutions will always be there, and we need to harmonize by tasking the capable military leaders and their proactive staff. Secondly, the upgradation of rank structure left us with additional layers or echelons which add their own existential time delay in any process or decision making effort. Thus, delayering needs to be introduced for faster decision making. Quoting Jim Mattis again for ensuring a leaner staff setup, he said, "We drastically cut down staff size by employing skip echelon, a technique learned from an Iraqi major captured in Gulf War 1991. So years also learned from the Iraq as far as the skip echelon system is concerned. And that is how allowed them to take a faster decision. Now we are increasingly looking at digitized, networked and automated in-house solutions to meet our functional, operational and HR requirements. These include data centricity as the envisaged end state for AI empowerment, single source of truth, which has been residing at various places. Now that has been covered at DGIS, and that will be kind of defined as the single data sourcing, SOT. Decision support system with data analysis and AI for predictive analysis. CIDSS, most of you would have heard in your promotion exams, etc., was languishing for quite some time, more than 10 years or so. Now it has seen the light of the day, and by end of this year we will be able to sign the project and we should be able to move ahead with the deliverables. Enabling a fusion between operational and administrative applications through gateways. Like I told you, everybody had the data residing in their own servers. So the gateways are coming up in a big way, where we will have to make sure they talk to each other. But the info systems data management will remain the final authority. Delegation of decision making to div and core level with central district data monitoring and repository. So a lot of issues or decision making will get disposed of at the core and division level. They don't have to kind of get back to the higher echelons other than informing that this what has been done. And we draw the queue from AS support demand, where 15 minutes were given to you to veto or accept it. So for enhancing the technical threshold of soldiers, simulation and virtual reality training modules have been incorporated. Clause for training by OEM for niche technology equipment is also included in the contracts being concluded. As far as the procurement and sustenance is concerned, in-house measures have been initiated to reduce procurement timelines, such as strengthening the procurement organization, ensuring concurrent procurement activities, faster decision making, and establishment of a robust monitoring mechanism. Because the trust, moment it is at the lower level, you find the delegation of finance will also come down accordingly. So that is how we are trying to reassure our decision makers that you trust us and we will give you the deliverables. Emergency procurement has proved to be a game changer in rubbing shoulder with new technology and Atmanirbhar equipment, even if it is Mark 1. We are also pushing for accelerated procurement process to encourage Atmanirbharta, and the best part is even the bureaucracy and quality is in agreement to do that. Right sizing ordnance inventory from 5.8 lakhs in 2010 to 4.24 lakhs in 2024 is just the beginning. And for surplus inventory disposal now, a one-time authorization has been given for 2 years under a ledger to dispose of unwanted surplus or obsolete inventory. And by 2026 we are looking at completing this. The famous Kaizen technology, which is brands like Motorola, Microsoft and Merrill Lynch, have also been incorporated for enhancing our efficiency. To begin with, CSD system is being studied in phase 1, then we go for ECHS in phase 2. Plans are also there to increase deputation exposure. Niti Aayog, MIT, MHA, border come, internal security sections, MEA boundary section, Ministry of Social Justice, sports, telecom, etc. for lateral communication, from learning and faster decision making under time. And it's really helping us in a big way. And as far as you are aware that Vibrant Village program, which Prime Minister told us that you should be able to provide so to those village programs, we are working very closely with the Ministry of Tourism, and we may be exchanging officers also from both the sides to provide impetus to that. And implications with respect to
narrative building by adversaries as also by other stakeholders. So what we have done about it, all pivot core, selected area headquarters, specific branches in army headquarters, and few title establishments have been allowed social media handles in phase 1. So this sectoral geographical information, if you want, you can subscribe to those 4 the places, and you will not depend solely on ADGPI. As regards legacy practices, this is the most debatable subject in all the 3 services. Efforts are on to decouple imperial practices from military traditions. Board of Officers already ordered to examine it, keeping in view the sensitivities of old units. And as you are aware, in the Joint Commanders Conference, a booklet was also released by Raksha Mantri on the same issue. As for the last pillar is concerned, human resource management. Moving on to the domain of human resource management, I would like to draw from the Mask of War by Carl H. Wilder. Army worships values and its USP is human resource. Whereas in case of others, it is either platform or technology. So that is where we differ from the other 2 services. So in the next few years, we shall witness stabilization of the agriculture scheme with the best of best forming the cutting edge manpower in the field units. We are working continuously in an evolutionary manner towards smoother absorption into Indian Army as also assimilation into the civil society. As for the women empowerment is concerned, since I see our right places, we are getting encouraging feedback of very high efficiency of many women officers, including few commanding officers. This CTFP road, the famous road which goes to Damchok in eastern Ladakh, is under a watchful eye of a women officer, commanding officer in Vihar. And you find her 24/7 standing on the road itself. Today we have, and I also met her at Umlingla, which is the highest pass made by BR of the world. Today we have nearly 1,000 female students in her Sainik school. RMC has about 100, and NDA is training approximately 50 officers today. We are also exploring avenues for induction of women soldiers in arms and services other than core of military police, where we already have 100 per year, 100 per month, 100 per year. The board of officers under Engineer in Chief has been completed and soon will come out with our way forward. Meanwhile, we are trying to harmonize physical tests based on physiological conditions while ensuring commonality of tests with varying degree of grades. We are also examining how to convert gender equality approach to gender neutrality approach, especially in field conditions. We are also examining gender neutral Visakha guidelines document to protect interests of both the gender. Because here we won't have even time and places to carry out those court inquiries because the operational imperatives become more important. SSP reforms have been carried out and we have brought down the shortage of officer strength from 16.6% to 12.2% as of today. We intend to bring this shortfall down further by making short service commissions more attractive. As you are aware of the regular cadre and support cadre ratio what we have. Veteran outreach, connect and welfare is and shall remain a KRA form. With the motto of recognition and respect, always look at Indian Army's military population as 1.3 crores, approximately. Now let me explain how it comes to that number. Approximately 12 lakhs serving, 24 lakhs dependent on the serving, a very conservative figure I am taking. The IAB registered figures today include 25 lakh veterans, 7 lakh widows. I am again saying 7 lakh widows, 28 lakh registered dependents, and similar number of family members who are not dependent but staying together. So that comes to approximately 1.3 crores. Now mechanisms are in place with the DIAB, AWA, AWPO, who are being energized along with the Department of PSW under MOD. Project Naman, entailing CSC of MIT and CSR of HDFC Bank, has been established last month at 14 locations and shall be expanded to 200 locations pan India. It's a one-window solution to all issues of veterans. Its efficiency will only increase based on constructive feedback. So we are expecting this from our veterans. As far as short Sampravana series which has been put into motion, once I took over, 1.0 is nearly over, where we discussed the methodology how to reach out to our veterans. And then we requested a few veterans to join us and they were briefed on the complete Indian Army transformation. Some of them are sitting here. And thereafter, based on constructive feedback, we are going to make those changes which are required. Veteran think tanks at the command level have been established at most of the commands where possible. On Shaurya Sampravar 2, We are looking at advisory groups formed with a PSO coordinator on issues related to strategic communication, military civil fusion, I am using the word military first, HR management and technology absorption. So we'll be requesting many veterans to join this advisory group, and thereafter be a conscious keeper in Margdarshan. War games attendance by selected veterans representing any sense of excellence have already been incorporated, and the multi-domain veterans who were there in all logistics front war games, they are there. In the main front war game, when we will be having, again the veterans will be requested to join us. We are also going in for red teaming for audit of operation plans, and even USI is going to play a major role in that. As for the recognition of path breakers and society leaders in the veteran society is concerned, which is worth emulating, today afternoon itself, we are honoring 2 veteran achievers during the retiring officers seminar. This will become a regular feature, and similarly this will be followed in the command and CoAS. The commanders at various echelons shall be reaching out to civil functionaries at state and district levels to highlight the potential of veterans as a vital resource pool that can be leveraged for nation building. And army commanders will soon be writing to the state chief ministers on the same issue. Draft is currently with the 3 governors on the northern front for in principle approval. Now to give it, we will move ahead. Though nation building is a subject in itself, and the time would not have permitted me to cover that aspect, so I've just picked up only one topic, the defense reforms. But before that, when we talk about the drivers of growth, we have to understand the difference what the West looks at and what East looks at. When you look at the West, they look at only basically economy as the main. But when you go for the eastern side, you always find the culture, the social strength. Those things also become equally important. So Indian Army plays a major role in these things also besides economy. I'll just cover defense diplomacy because this is something that is an emerging field, and we have to work a lot towards that. Because a lot of officers sitting here have also been part of various platforms which have been going around. They've been coming and discussing with us and giving a very constructive feedback. So in defense diplomacy, our endeavor is to be a tool in augmenting strategic partnership and alliances while sustaining strategic hedging. We stand ready to take on increasing responsibilities in expanding strategic horizons towards protecting our national interests. So our endeavors include playing a lead role in UNPKO, reaching out to foreign alumni, linkages of which helped us during the Bangladesh crisis, as you are well aware, communicating India's narrative against terrorism and promoting defense exports. We are also organizing the 2nd edition of Charity Defense Dialogue, which I shall be requesting all of you to please attend. That is something which is thought-provoking, because indirectly we will be discussing the likely role of Indian Army in the national security strategy. Army Chiefs meet based on Southward Dialogue in conjunction with UNPK Women's Seminar is also proposed next year. All defense advisors have been given a 5-point agenda, including encouraging defense exports. Also, the billets of defense advisors are also being increased concurrently. Joint training with friendly foreign countries is continued to remain at 25 plus number, but the scope has increased manifold. Wherever it was a section, that's increased to platoon. Where there was a platoon, it has increased to company. Where there was a company, it has been increased to battalion. And similar in other arms and services. Joint adventure activities are the new areas which we are exploring. I recently went to Japan, and it was very encouraging when the defense minister agreed to a proposal of Mount Fuji to Himalayas. So we are looking at those kind of a joint expeditions. All CAT establishments are being asked to establish websites and reconnect with foreign alumni and provide them with professional feedback in terms of publication, virtual seminar attendance, and also short-term curated virtual courses or capsules. We have a lot of potential, but due to the reasons of security, we actually put a cap on it. But now we have to work in a hybrid model. Even for the higher command course, we are looking at opening up in a hybrid manner for foreign students. Besides own academia, industry partners and other decision makers and facilitators will also attend a portion of it. Therefore, to conclude, I would like to say that Indian Army's transformation pursuits aligned to Viksit Bharat, including Mission Optic 2036, which we recently held a seminar. The Indian Army remains aligned and integrated with the national vision and objectives, and a self-reliant and future-ready Indian Army shall continue to contribute meaningfully to the aspirations, goals and objectives of a rising India as a net security provider. Finally, I thank the USI
for giving me this opportunity to speak to you all here today. I wish the USI the very best in all its endeavors. And I am sure the question answer session also. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. The key mantra being change with relevance and highlighting how to deal with multi-domain warfare with pillars like jointness, rebalance, modernization, Atmanirbhar. I am sure with time we'll become more stronger.
We'll have only opportunity for Chief to make his remarks because there is a paucity of time.
Good morning, sir. I am Col Pyara from Vihar Regiment, retired last year, sir. I have two specific questions, one on the strategic part and second on the post-modernization part, sir. The Chief very correctly made the remark about the strategically expecting that the army should be ready to fight at super high altitudes. I disagree with this proposition. What I feel is that in the current scenario in which Asia Pacific is the new order of the new world order, it is the jointness which is the key. And when we say jointness is the key, probably that is why we are going for theaterization. Navy has no role in super high altitude areas. In the last about 4 to 5 years, we would have seen that bulk of our capital procurement money is being given to Navy primarily because Navy needs to come up in tune with the modernization. So what I want to highlight here is probably we should be looking at amphibious part of warfare to be given the highest priority. I can elaborate it later, but I don't know whether the time permits that or not. Since I'm speaking in USI, I fully understand that people would be fully conversant as to where are we placed in the Asia Pacific and the power struggle between America and China. Second part is about the force modernization. I think there can be nobody better than the present Army Chief to answer this question because he has been DDG Bravo, he has been ADG, he has been DG Infantry. I was a small fry, I was Director of INSAS. So what I want to highlight here is we need to fully understand as to what is Make in India and what are its implications at the ground level. When I say that in an infantry battalion, so what is actually happening in an infantry battalion? 27% of Indian Army is authorized carbines. There are no carbines. Since 2004, last 21 years, carbines are obsolete. So 27% of entire Indian Army is without its basic weapons. Number two, in the Northern Theatre, we have 6-yor, which is to make sure, which is a different caliber. Now we are going with AK series with the Russians, which is 203, which will be Make in India. We already have the INSAS, which is there, but there are no carbines. What I want to highlight here is that we need to actually look at this aspect of modernization from Make in India and implement it intelligently. Just brief example I want to give is MP9s have been there, whether it is
I think you'll have to be short because
right, sir.
Otherwise I'll run out for giving my answers.
Right, sir.
So you'll have to decide who is to speak.
Yeah, so please yes, Aarti, Dr. Aarti Tikku.
Thank you. My name is Aarti Tikku. I'm the Editor-in-Chief of the New Indian. General Dwivedi, thank you for such an insightful lecture today. My question is very simple. I would like to know what are the challenges that the Indian Army is foreseeing at the half-front war that you mentioned in your lecture. Thanks.
Thanks. Yeah. Yes.
Sir, I am Group Captain Narang from IDSA. In line with Atmanirbharta, to support Atmanirbharta, US has got Army Futures Command, Army Innovation Command. China has got a PLAF research laboratory, PLA research laboratory. Don't you think it's a time that we have a tri-services and Indian Army research verticals to really contribute in a manner? Thank you.
Yes. Any more questions?
Sir, morning, sir. I'm Major Jagatbir Singh. I'm with the USI, sir. So I wanted to ask you, yesterday the Foreign Secretary had spoken about the pact with China regarding the border patrolling, which has been reached. But there's no fine print of that out, or neither has any comment been made by any Chinese media, at least is what I've read. So can you throw some light on that, sir? I think it's a positive step forward, but can you just throw some light on that, sir?
One last question. Yeah, Dr. Roshan.
Thank you, General Sharma. I would like to know how are we doing as far as quantum is concerned?
Okay. Before I request Chief to respond, I just wanted to very briefly respond to the first question. You know, we have our contested borders on a high altitude area, super high altitude. How is that going to disappear? I don't understand that in times to come, that you feel that there would be no necessity for us to fight on along the LAC and LOC and put our all focus on amphibious operations to capture what, which territory. So anyway, that's a more point. Maybe I request you to come out to USI and we can have a panel discussion giving you all the flow and listen to your viewpoint. So I now hand over to the Chief.
Okay, so as far as the first point is concerned, the answer will take about 2 hours for me to get, because moving from super altitude to amphibious area and then giving our confidential assessment will have its own ramifications. So that we can discuss separately. No issue, I can have nothing on that. Now coming on to the force modernization illustration which you have given out, is firstly absolutely right. And Ms. Col Sharma also asked me this question, and I give a very elaborate answer. If I'll take the liberty of repeating a similar kind of a thing. A commanding officer today has capability to carry X number of weapons, but the weapons to choose from for him is X plus Y. He doesn't know how to combine X plus Y. That's his dilemma, which is this. So what are we looking at? I'll take you back. Again, Civil War, American Civil War, 75 meters. Then we came, when I was the youngster, I showed the Army Commanders 5.56. They approved rifle and LMG, carbine was left out. It was not found to be effective. Then, thereafter, when I became the commanding officer, I realized I will not forego my 7.62 mm LMG. Meanwhile, we also started moving from 5.56 to 7.62. And thereafter, when we went to that time government that why should the private enterprise be given the license for that, the answer was no. Because there was a sense of insecurity, it will get proliferated. As of today, I think the proliferation from outside is much more. So as we move ahead, we find that in around 2019, that time Mr. Parikar and then Mr. Parikar had just handed over. That time we decided, look, we need this kind of something for the front line, which is one of the world's best. We cannot give to the 12 lakh population the same kind of weapon. Then we went for 6 or as you are aware, that time it was also said that in case this is liked by the troops, then we will go for the complete, it gives you approximately 401, approximately number it will be given. So the second contract which has been signed based on that. Meanwhile, we wanted something again 7.62 which can be given to the 10 lakh population as also the 10 lakh of the CAPF and thereafter to the state governments also. So if you see the market for AK-203 was very, very high. Therefore, we went in for that and it's proven to be success. I visited that factory myself. With every passing day, you will find the indigenization content is increased. Coming on to the aspects of carbine, you are well aware what had happened. We had gone in for nearly picking up that carbine from a particular country, but then there were some observations from various institutes and organizations, and then after that also couldn't go through. But now the market today when we talk about is developed in such a manner that today you can get a sniper from India, you can get a carbine from India, you can get LMG and rifles from India. So the ones which are offering now, these are nearly completely made in India. So we are going to accept that. And meanwhile, till the time the carbine is not there, AK-203 will meet the requirement and our priorities are being given like that. So I assure you, in next 2 to 3 years, you will find that these kind of deficiencies for which CO was always Kim Karta removed, that issue will not be there anymore. Moving on to this next issue of half front. It's a very pertinent question, nobody asked till late, because we have always been looking at the two front war. See, the Indian Army is geared up to prepare for the conventional warfare. Same is the case with the Air Force and Navy. But when it comes to the half front, you will find that Indian Army gets involved maximum. And that is why General Lushi, if you remember, went in for raising this Rashtriya Rifles. Because it was diverting our focus from the conventional operations. But when the intensity of operation goes high, then you need additional troops to be deployed there. And that is what is happening today. That we have additional troops who are deployed there to kind of curtail the level of CICT ops or the operations which are going on. Therefore, definitely it has some kind of a challenges. The challenges, the training reorientation is required. Then if I can say that the equipping has to be of a different kind because it has to come from the revenue budget. So these are some changes which are there. But it also there is a plus to it. The plus to it, the human test or the test of the battalions to kind of go through that kind of if I can say that, boiling pot, that gets, the acid test gets done there. And second issue is that our troops are always battle ready because they are facing this kind of situation every day. So that enhances our battle fatigue which is there we can take care of, and battle inoculation we are very well of. So when we talk about other countries that they have not fought battle for so long, this half front gives us that advantage also. Coming on to the third issue of Atmanirbharta. Atmanirbharta, yes, as you are aware that Atmanirbharta is the busting and we have to encourage that. So corporatization of the PSUs has taken place and we are doing partial handholding also. But why PSUs were not progressing? Why their graph was flat? Because they did not have R&D. Now when you visit the PSUs, you find the R&D is coming up in a big way. Every day they are looking for people who can sit in their R&D incubation centers. That is something which is happening. As far as the private sector is also concerned, they are looking at orders. They are not looking at R&D. So the culture of research and development was not existing in India, neither on the private side, neither on the public side, or on the public side. So these two sides are being encouraged now. I must confess that the Navy has taken a big lead with DESI and other structures which are there. My vice chief visited yesterday itself to DESI, and I am also likely to go there soon. Because these are the structures which are required, which give you a framework and which advise people who are carrying out the development, spiral development which has taken place in the private teams. But what we have done recently, we have the Army Design Bureau, which is giving us a lot of directions, ATV. Then we also have the programs like IDEX and Aditi, starting from 1 crore, 10 crore, 15 crores, 30 crores. These programs are giving us various startups which are coming, which are having better R&D even than the established private sector. Then the DRDO restructuring is taking place. And once the DRDO restructuring takes place, I am sure, I am sanguine that the research and development will get a major impetus. So this is as far as the Atmanirbharta and research and development is concerned. Quantum, even I was sitting one day with the scientific advisor to Prime Minister, and that is how he said, how come you are not part of the quantum national mission? So that is the first thing we did after that. But he was also not aware that what Indian Army is doing, what SONC is doing, what MCT is doing. We are doing a lot. And we have already carried out some tests, as you are aware, in Leh and other places. So it was an IDEX small thing which we started, and you will be happy to know that we have signed a contract with the IDEX new company which is there. Raksha Mantri, when last week itself, handed over that contract certificate to him. So what it means that as far as the quantum technology is concerned, we have started, we have reached a particular level, but a long way to go. Because Indian Army alone will not be able to work. It's a whole of nation approach, and the whole nation has to sit together. In isolation, we cannot even fund this kind of approach. So, like I told you, SA to Prime Minister himself is taking on keen interest in this thing. So, over a period of 1 to 3 years, I am sure that whole of nation approach where we play a pivotal role also, we will be able to get more success. Now, the last point is about China. So, as far as some statements have already been given out. So what does it mean? As far as we are concerned, we were looking at that we want to go back to the status quo of April 2020. Point number 1.
Thereafter, we will be looking at disengagement, de-escalation, normal management of line of actual control. And this normal management of line actual control will not just stop there. There are phases in that also. So this is what I am saying. It's been our stance from April 20 itself when J.Y.K. Joshi was the Army Commander, and even today that remains the same. So as of now, what has happened? We are trying to restore the trust. How the trust will get restored? It will get restored once we are able to see each other. And we are able to convince each other, look, the buffer zones which are there, which have been created, they are not creeping. And both have to reassure each other. Petrol gives you that kind of advantage. So that's what is something which is convincing. And as we restore the trust, the other stages will also follow through soon. I think this is the diplomatic answer given by us, Secretary Ma'am.
Thank you, sir. I have just about 4 issues and I request you for very brief comments on that. When we interact with the environment, what we get to know that there is a need for decongestion of routine. One. Second is the empowerment of the junior leaders. Third is that still our training infrastructure in terms of having augmented reality at different places is still not up to the mark. And fourth is the need for an adaptive leadership in a very, very vibrant social media environment. Request for your thoughts.
Your questions are so fast that I can't even write that.
No,
So it's a decongestion of routine, empowerment of junior leaders.
Training nodes with augmented reality.
Okay.
Then is adaptive leadership in social media environment.
So last thing first, as far as social media adaptation is concerned, yes. And a very senior officer was told that whole life you told me to keep shut and now you want me to speak. So when you go to the unit, you are told to follow. So what we have to understand is the difference. Adaptation is the word which is in center. A military man in junior ranks is supposed to follow the orders, procedures without questioning it. But as you go senior in the hierarchy, you are supposed to adapt. You have to be flexible. You have to understand the essence of an order. So what is there? There is a standard and there is a rule. So senior hierarchy has to work based on the standards, guidelines, and junior hierarchy has to work on the rules. So from the transition from rules to standards is something which is most critical. And this is why I have written to all the majors and above of Indian Army myself and told them that to this transition you have to lead. And that's why the social media, which was, as you are aware, put a major block earlier, we are gradually opening it up. Yesterday itself we have signed a letter that any 2-star can allow any officer dealing with any subject which needs to be dealt with in conjunction with social media should be allowed to kind of look into it or use it. So we are now gradually opening it. This adaptation is very, very important. But as far as the pace is concerned, that is dependent on the ability of that individual officer to absorb it. The younger generation will be able to absorb it much faster. But their risk, which will be beyond the level of rationality, will be higher. When it comes to the higher level, you will find the risk will be slightly below the level of rationality also. So this is how we have to look into these two, and we are pushing it. And every day I take the feedback of the sentiments of various handles which are there. So there is a process, and maybe within a year you will see the change. And like I told you, the responsibility lies on my shoulder, and I assure you that changes will be visible. As far as the second issue is concerned, empowerment of junior leaders. So like I told you, that the junior leaders have to look at the rules, not at the standards. But when you look at mission style of command, what does it mean? That these standards have to come down to a much lower level. Rules have to be interpreted based on that. So when it comes to the small body of troops, like you see the special forces and others, that kind of a freedom is there. When you see the Rashtriya Rifle, those kind of freedoms are there. So what we are looking at, that today when we have operational scenario, the conventional operations, this kind of a junior leadership should be able to take its own action. But How will you get to know? Because Indian Army is the only, when I am saying hospital does not work on a sequential system. So there have to be pockets of excellence. But those pockets of excellence have to work in the circle of influence or circle which has been allotted to them. They cannot go out of that. Therefore, when you empower the junior leadership, you empower him with that circle of influence which is given to him. Because you have to harmonize all circle of influence. So therefore, the junior leadership is empowered in that way, but what is happening now, we are not saying 2 down, 2 up. We are saying 3 up, 3 down. So that the decision making, which has to be much faster in the AI enabled scenario, data centric scenario, network centric scenario, the decision making has to be very fast. Therefore, if he is aware of the thought process, the concepts of the higher echelon, it will be easier for him to execute at the lower level. Maybe looking theoretical, but that is what we are explaining to various schools of instructions also, and various battalion, brigade commanders and the div commanders. The third issue is decongestion of routine. Yes. And what we see here when we say that, okay, remove the legacy 75 rulings or the SOPs which do not matter today. So whenever we look at transition and transformation, the comfort zone becomes important. And again, this I have written to all the majors and above. What is the comfort zone? If your comfort zone is a LMG, then whichever rank you go, the comfort zone may remain as LMG until as you decide to kind of change your thought process. And who's written that leadership at last? Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek, I was listening to his talk day before yesterday. He says a particular appointment is supposed to give you the output. Now since you have done best in the output, what happens? You go to the higher echelon where you are required to harmonize the output. But if you start doing the micromanagement, what happens? You are not growing to the job for which you were meant for. And thereafter you go to the frustration level. Now this is what when we call about the decongestion of routine, this is what is happening. Most of the cases. When you go down to the level where you are not required to go down, that's what becomes a problem. When the level which is supposed to perform the task does not give the feedback to the higher level, you will find there is a gap. And to cover up that gap, what happens? A lot of conferences, discussions and other things which are there. Similarly, as far as the training is concerned, are we transitioning this training? Do we require the drill what we were doing earlier in the same period, or we need to train it for the AI enabled issues? So these kind of transitions are taking place, and that's why we are having the future cell where he will guide us that in all these aspects, how should we look into for next 3 to 5 years? Any should have things.
Training notes with the modern training and technology change.
Yes. As far as this training driven notes are concerned, what we need to look into, the hierarchy which is at the higher level understands AI, technology, but to a level. Similarly, when we were the youngsters, the hierarchy which was higher to us was still grappling with which button to press to switch on the computer. So what I am saying, now it's a requirement to harmonize all these 3 levels together. So this is what we are doing as of today. That's why a lot of seminars are taking place. Even we are looking at quoting Ross Hansling, Factfulness. He talks about en masse upgradation of a particular section, not only trainers. So when you have to upgrade the en masse section of a particular service level, you have to go in full throttle. And in this what we are doing as of today is that we are working with various OEMs, we are working with private sectors, we are working with various government agencies to enable our schools of instructions with this kind of a technological advancements. And once that happens, gradually we will find the younger generation is coming, will be able to enforce, act as a trainer and also advise in the various centers of excellence that how to take this Indian Army ahead on all these issues.
Thank you, sir. I think for very comprehensive talk and also addressing the question answers in a very candid and in a very reassuring manner. On behalf of all of us here, we thank you profusely for sparing your time and sharing your insights. So please join me, ladies and gentlemen, for a big applause for our speech.
With this, we come to the end of the event. May I now request Major General R.S. Yadav, VSM retired, Director, Center for Strategic Studies and Simulation, to please deliver the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think the DG has already expressed